Good morning, buongiorno. I would like to thank you, the authorities of Pacto de Oristano and region of Sardinia for the warm welcome we have received these days here in Sardinia. And my presentation today will deal with an introduction to the ICO lines. That this is one of the most known and most used financial instruments in Spain. Before to introduce to the ICO lines, I need to introduce to what is ICO, because ICO is a state-owned bank of the government of Spain, and it was created initially in 1971 to manage and control the other state-owned banks in Spain. Afterwards, ICO changed, and since the state-owned banks in Spain has almost disappeared, ICO has focused its activity on providing credits and to regulate some financial activities of support of the Spanish government. ICO has the legal status of accredited institution, and it follows all the market banking practices as any other bank. The acronym is Instituto de Crédito Oficial, is Official Credit Institute of Spain, and its banking practices are really conservative. By law, ICO's liabilities are supported by the Spanish government, and is, as I mentioned, ICO is characterized by this very conservative management, operating in line with the best practices of private credit institutions and maintaining, of course, very low structural risk in its balance, in interest rate, exchange rates, and all the assets liability management. ICO is totally autonomous in its balance from the state, from the government, and its budget every year is operating separately from the ministry and the government from its depends. Although it's a public bank because it's owned by the state, it operates completely separately from the state. And when the state has to support with more funds, they are completely included in the balance and has to be recovered afterwards. It can be the opposite, that ICOs support the Spanish government with more funds of its own balance. For instance, these years of crisis, the state has contributed increasing ICO's capital in order that ICO can support the banks to provide credits to SMEs due to the crisis of financings for the companies we have in Spain now. The purposes and functions of ICOs are different, but focus mainly into different issues. As an state-owned bank with second floor facilities that are the ICO lines that we will explain afterwards, and direct financing. And also it acts as a state's financial agency, following the economic policy of the government and also management some state policies. As a state-owned bank, ICO has, first of all, the second floor lines or second floor facilities that are the ICO lines. I will briefly introduce now, because I will, in some minutes, talk a little bit more in more detail of this, because this is the ICO lines we want to describe as good practices, at least in Spain. These ICO lines are designed to support Spanish enterprises by financing their productive investment and working capital. The loans are granted through private credit institutions, the normal private banks, which will assume the credit risks associated with each operation provided to a company. So the conditions of these loans are established by ICO in transparent terms to all banks and also for general public. Since we will come afterwards to these issues, I will not give more explanations now. These ICO lines are the ones which are addressed to companies and entrepreneurs, and also has a line for international operations and for exporters. As a state-owned bank, ICO also may finance directly some operations, such as corporate and structured financings of large-scale projects, both public and private, for private investment by Spanish companies in Spain or abroad. These are mainly for very big projects. ICO evaluates and grants the loans and assumes the credit risk. This is opposite to the other ICO lines we mentioned before. These loans will be provided preferably in cooperation with other national, interregional, or multilateral public or private financial institutions. The priority sector for these big loans, which has to be of more than 10 million euros, are infrastructure, energy, transport, telecommunication, environment, industry, tourism, research. The characteristic of this type of loans are that are big loans of more than 10 million euros. They have normally good grace periods with long repayment terms, and the financing is tailored according to the circumstances of the loan required. As a financial agency, ICO follows the economic policy of the government by the implementation of economic support measures approved by the Spanish government. It follows also the government-specific instructions in the provision of financings for instance, to victims of serious economic crisis, natural disasters, and other circumstances, as this mentions. And also it manages some public funds when it is needed to advance payments for development aid, internationalization financial aid, funds for financial supplier payments, etc. And now that you know a little bit of what is ICO, the institution who which provide this type of financing instrument, I will explain in some more detail about the ICO lines which are addressed to companies and entrepreneurs, and also in some cases also for some communities. But those are only exceptional cases. These ICO lines are designed to support Spanish enterprises and self-employees, freelancers, etc., by financing their productive investment and working capital. The first year of ICO lines, like we know them as they are now, started in 1999. But they are renewed every year. The conditions, since the framework of these ICO lines are very similar, but they change every year. For this year, 2013, around 22,000 million euros are available. For instance, in last year, it was around 27,000 million euros. So it may vary according to the year. The target beneficiaries, as I mentioned, are mainly self-employees and enterprises, and very occasionally neighbors communities, and exclusively for retrofitting their building. But there are very, very exceptional cases. The main ICO lines for 2013 are companies and entrepreneurs and international. Each of these lines have a sub-line according to special circumstances. For instance, the subline in SGR warranty in companies and entrepreneurs is for those loans which use an additional warranty organization as an intermediary, which support also which provide a warranty for the loan. And in international, the subline, but this subline works the same as the main line, with the exception of that additional granting. Of course, the company has to pay an extra fee for this extra warranty. And international exporters have another subline of exporters that is only to anticipate invoices payments. The main features of ICO lines are that the financing is in more favorable conditions than the market. They are applied directly by the banks. ICO establishes financial conditions in each line, and the banks assume the risk. This runs this way. ICO established the conditions for this year, that with different percentage and rates of interest for each duration of repayment term. And these rates may vary every I think it's every 15 days, which is with the average of the last 6 months period month. And each loan may vary not only of the years of repayment, but also of the grace period the company is requesting. The maximum of these loans has to be of 10 million euros per company. The average of a company normally requests is of around 40,000 euros. And reimbursement may be up to 20 years and up to 2 years grace period. This type of lines, of ICO lines, are requested as normal banking loans. So an entrepreneur is not to request for an ICO line directly in the bank or in an organization. They just normally go to a bank, and since most of the banks are participating in ICO structure, they provide their normal credit or loans programs for them, and if the entrepreneur or company may fulfill the requisites to participate in an ICO line, they will offer an ICO line to provide this loan. So the application for this type of instrument is simple for what ICO requires. A simple application of a few sheets, 1-2 sheets. But the thing is that since the company or entrepreneur is requesting a credit to a bank, well, a loan to a bank, the bank may request the normal requirement they request to any other company asking for a credit to that bank. So if the bank requires a good warranty, it's like any other loan or warranty. Or if they request, for instance, a full, complete business plan, it's the same as any other credit requested by that bank. Of course, the requirements will be higher when the person who is requesting a loan or an ICO line has less warranties or less support, less financial support in the back. The main results of ICO in the last years are that around 160,000 companies benefited from ICO in 2012. More than 11,000 million euros were used for credits to companies last year of a total of 27,000 million euros used by ICO in all their operation, in its operations. This year, in the first 3 months, the average of application accepted has been of 1 of 4, at 25%, and at the moment only a 7% of the year funds of ICO has for the year has been spent in these 3 first months. That 7% is now of 1,500 million euros in this period, corresponding only to the main ICO line of entrepreneurs and companies. So, just as a summary and what we consider the strengths, and weaknesses, opportunities and threats of this program, and mainly based on the Spanish situation now, is that the strengths are that the ICO lines have lower interest rates than normal banks. That almost all banks in Spain are involved in the program, so there is a strong institutional network support. The credits the ICO lines are integrated into private sector, and the losses are assumed by the private sector. It's economically sustainable because it does not depend on public funds, and it runs like a normal private scheme of credits applied to a bank. As weaknesses we have, the banks refuse to give credits to many projects. So many entrepreneurs and SMEs may be disappointed for this fact. The big enterprises, as it happens in the normal credits, have more possibilities to receive this credit than SMEs. And now the situation is that credits interest in Spain are very high, so ICO's rates are also high. In any case, the difference between obtaining an ICO a loan by ICO, or by the bank, but using ICO instrument, is lower than the normal, than the average credit provided by the same bank. The opportunities for the instrument: the support of the national government to enterprises via the private sector. The interest rates are regulated on a transparent way and under the market, and the comparison network we have in Spain with ICO and the banks, and also other bodies that collaborate with ICO. And the main threat is that banks assume losses in case of being unpaid, so they are afraid of giving credit to companies in which they don't trust. This year, the ICO's loans are being lower than other years, and many companies are really disappointed with this situation because the government tried with extra funds last year and this year to promote more circulating credits and loans in Spain. But since the interest rates are so high now, even with ICO, that many banks do not accept to provide to many companies, and companies cannot afford so big interest. Before to talk about the transferability of ICO lines, I will explain briefly how runs the transparency of the ICO lines. In ICO website, ICO establishes a minimum fee according to the different years of repayment period and the grace period too. Euribor plus this rate, and it gives an extra rate that is up to the banks to increase this amount. Nowadays, the extra difference rate the banks may apply up to ICO is of 2 points and 2.30%. So it may vary according to the banks. That is the margin the banks may play and to make competence among them. With regard to the possible transferability of ICO lines, we think that it may be transferable because there are similar state-owned banks in other European countries, and it is only to be transferred the system, to transfer the scheme ICO uses. The methodology is well documented, and the website of ICO is very transparent, and it is easily integrated in the public sector without having the necessity of using extra public funds, nor European nor national funds. And the transferability challenges are that a political commitment is needed to afford an instrument like this, the availability of resources, because first of all, the state of each government has, the government of each state has to allocate a number of important resources to the bank. The dissemination efforts addressed to company, so they may know that this ICO instrument exists, and to obtain the collaboration of the banks. And well, I'm available for your questions, and that's all. Thank you for your attention.
What is the practice of the commercial banks? Do they offer ICO lines only, or only in a combination with an own product?
They can make in combination, but normally it depends on what is convenient for the bank or not in that moment. Normally, it depends also on the resources of that bank in that moment, because when ICO provides the funds to a bank, well, the bank knows that may may provide a loan with ICO resources. So if the bank has no many resources but can assume risk, maybe it's more convenient for the bank to directly provide the company who is requesting the credit for an ICO line. If the bank in that moment has resources, don't need to receive ICO resources, it will maybe propose the entrepreneur to use their credit. Of course, the entrepreneur or the company should know the possibility of ICO and to compare if they will use better the ICO line or not, in order to avoid to pay extra interest rates.
Okay, any more? Okay, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Well, sorry, one thing I have noticed that we have made a mistake in the synopsis. Just in how many applications were submitted last year, the number here is not correct. I will check it and tell you in each table when discussing.
Thank you very much.